So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Digital Banana. This is our part 2 of the theme, A Blooming Future for Africa of the Digital Food series. I'm Tiffany Tsui. I'm the co-organizer and moderator of Digital Food 2021 series. I'm Chinese, I'm Dutch. I'm joining now from the Netherlands. I focus on strategy research and venture development in the areas of sustainability and transformation. Together with Dick Veerman, founder of Foodlog, we developed the concept of the Digital Food 2021 series to focus on the theme of connect data, technology, and strategy, and connect people, ideas, and regions. I would like to thank you for the sponsors. They're also behind me on the screen. ktba, InfoSupport, SyncForce, City of Rotterdam, Province Zuid-Holland, Greenport West-Holland, Leiden, Delft, Erasmus University, and Wageningen University. So before we start on digital bananas, let's start with a poll to test your knowledge about banana. The poll question is, which country in the world is the biggest exporter of bananas? So Bianca, once everybody's finished, you can pull up the result, please. We wait a little bit. Okay. Answers. Ghana, Ecuador, Costa Rica is the number 1, actually. Could be changed. Nigeria, Netherlands. Yeah, Bianca, can you show us the trade map of the global banana trade? Yes, so this is the trade map according to data from, it's 5 years old data. Still, there are could be some changes. You can see the biggest this is data from FAO of the global trade data from all around the world. You can see the main trading network is between Latin America and Europe. Actually, the biggest port are in Europe. So it's very important when we talk about banana, the role of Rotterdam in place in this global trade. Bianca, can you show us the next slide? Next sheet. Yeah. And this is the banana export countries. So the percentage shows the growth. And then the size of the ball is the size. So you can see actually number 1 by far is Ecuador, followed by Costa Rica, Colombia, Guatemala. But Asian countries like the Philippines has seen significant growth. And largely it's a lot of driven by trade with China, for example. But on this top 10 countries, you can see African countries are mysteriously missing. So there we'll start with the stage. I'd like to introduce Babatunde. Babatunde should be able to help us to answer the question, why do we not see Nigeria, Ghana on this global trading map? Babatunde, you are a young farmer entrepreneur. You help farmers around Africa to meet exporters' requirements. So you are the best person to answer this question, right?
Yes, thank you, Tiffany.
Please start with your explanation. What is happening in Africa with trade and also some case about banana? Why are we not seeing Africa taking more prominent role in the international trading map? Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Babatunde. So I work with Futux Agri Consult Limited, and Futux is a private extension organization. So I would likely want to talk about this in about 5 background. First, I would actually want to talk about working with smallholder farmers, what Futux offer. Our activities working with farmers has made us actually know what the problem is, to identify the real problem, because so many times we will just identify more of symptoms, not the root cause. So working with farmers, we were able to identify and also the export agricultural product available in Nigeria, the current situation of banana in Nigeria, barriers to export between Nigeria and the EU, and the way forward. The working with smallholder farmers, what Futux offer, we have worked with farmers over the years. We've come to realize that there are several challenges that farmers do have, irrespective of what they are producing, either hibiscus, banana, plantain, sesame, or maize, or any product they are producing. One of the key things that I've realized is that organizing smallholder farmers together is a major problem, and that's why we offer a contract farming scheme. So we help to develop this contract farming scheme, and what we used to develop is identifying the major challenges in the farmers, grouping them based on their needs, and training them on group dynamics. And how do we train farmers on group dynamics? We help them to identify the need for group leadership, the way they actually, how they cooperate, how to build trust, how to help them to improve on their financial inclusion. And also another key thing after grouping, we realize that the major problem of their produce is actually good agricultural practices. Many of them do not follow it. So that was why we started offering training. So we train them on specific good agricultural practices, from pre-planting operation, planting operation, post-planting operation, post-harvest practices, and hygiene practices. And from there, we also looked at certification. We realized that going to the EU or any other market, there are some requirements. There are some specific requirements for some market. Some market requests for ASAP, some require for Global Gap, Rainforest Alliance, UTZ, Fair Trade, Alliance Water Stewardship, the Forest Stewardship Council, and the likes. So what we do is to help in the implementation, both the smallholder farmers and the agricultural organization, especially the exporters. So we help them to be able to document. We also help them to develop, to implement those standards. And also we just take them through the whole process for them to understand the specific good agricultural practices across the different certification. And the fourth one is the private extension services. We, apart from the train, we educate the farmers. And one of the key work that we are actually planning to do is working with the African farmer stories. The African farmer stories have really developed a lot of technology, and one of these is drone technology. We are partnering with the African farmer story to provide these services for the farmers, especially the smallholder farmers, on how to use drones. And we've identified their needs, especially the spraying of chemicals, the scouting for pests. So we are actually partner with them. And the last one we do is the verification services. We also identified there are some companies in maybe foreign companies that want to partner with local companies in Nigeria. So what we do is to help them to verify some information. Some local company provide some information that foreign companies want to verify. So we offer these services to help them. So in our work with farmers, offering these services, one of the things that we've identified some products that are actually exported, that can be exported from Nigeria. We identified ginger as one of those products, hibiscus as another product, moringa, both the oil and the powder. We identified the sesame seeds and oil as one of the raw material product that can be exported. Pepper, we have different types of pepper, cayenne pepper, the chili pepper, and the likes that can be exported from Nigeria, and is available in Nigeria in large quantity. We have the cocoa beans, the fermented beans. We have the cocoa butter that is available in Nigeria. We have the cashew nuts available in Nigeria. We have the frozen shrimps and prawns available in Nigeria. We have the cotton. We have the cowpea. One of the good things about cowpea is that it has a good quality, but we've been having issues with pesticide residue in the last 3 to 4 years now, and that's a major challenge which I also discussed about. We have the peanuts, we have the catfish, we have the plantain, and lastly we have banana. So one thing about banana is that this product, this crop has not really been exploited in Nigeria. We have not even exploited it. And the reason is because of the challenges around it. And presently, the situation in Nigeria is that there is limited availability of labor for production. We all know that banana is very labor intensive. Most farmers, smallholder farmers that are into our banana production, they don't really have the financial strength to mechanize. So they still depend on labor. And most of the areas that produce banana is most in the southern region of Nigeria, the Edo State, Ondo State, the Ikechi, Osun State. Those are the southern region that cultivate banana in large quantity. It's also produced in Kaduna, but the quantity is not as much as in the southern region. And most of them, they depend on labor from Côte d'Ivoire, labor from Burkina Faso, labor from Togo. So we import labor into Nigeria for this. And the cost of labor is very high. And now they are not even available because of the inflation rate. So many of them are discouraged to come and work in Nigeria, unlike before, where they are always, they are good because of the strength of the Naira was very, very strong. So it's a major challenge right now. The second one is limited use of and access to quality planting material. This is a key problem. The major research institute that actually breed planting material is IITA, is one of their mandate crops. But for now, it's very difficult for smallholder farmers to access improved varieties. So many farmers depend on suckers from parents' stock, from the mother plant. And most of these suckers or mother plant, they are already infected with some diseases, so the virus, fungi, and the likes. So it's very difficult for you to have a pure breed of banana, because most of them, they are already infected, and the genetic makeup is already has disease, and it will always affect the yield of the banana. And the next problem is the disease and pest. Two major diseases that we have in Nigeria is black sigatoka. It's a common disease. And the worst of all is that there has not been solution to it. 10 years, 15 years ago, I read that IITA developed a variety that is actually, that can withstand it. That can withstand the sigatoka, the black sigatoka. But right now, the farmers cannot access it up till now. So when you see a banana or plantain in Nigeria, you will see it. You will even see it is always obvious on it. You see the black sigatoka disease, and another one is the BXW, which is the bacteria Xanthomonas wilt. It's you just see some bananas wilting, and it's as a result of this disease. So it's destroyed them. It reduced the yield of it. And one of the common pests is the banana weevils, banana stem weevils. It affects the plant entirely. It destroys the plant. It makes the stem so weak that even if there is just a small wind blowing, it destroys the whole plant. And you get to know that out of your maybe 10,000 banana stand, after a wind, you are just having like 1,000 left. About 9,000 have been destroyed as a result of this pest attack, because it's just spread. And one thing that is now dangerous is that the synthetic chemical available is, some of them have been banned in the EU. For instance, chlorpyrifos. When you want to use to control this pest, now that they have reduced the maximum residue level from 0.05 to 0.01, it's not a challenge. It simply means you cannot use these chemicals again, and there are no alternatives, and that is a major concern. The next one is the poor storage facility. Out of the tons of banana being produced in Nigeria, we still experience over 40 to 70% post-harvest losses because there is no storage facility. And the infrastructure is very, very poor. The road network is not really good. And and when you cannot preserve it for long. You harvest today, within 6 days you want to sell. If you don't sell within 6 days, it perish, it gets wasted. During the harvest period, during the glut period, you go to the market, you just see tons of wasted banana in the markets. Same thing with plantain, tons of it being wasted. Know how to preserve it. We can't preserve it fresh except we dry it. And, that's a major problem. Another one is poor handling practices. Many of these farmers don't know how to handle it. Even the other actors, especially the food producers, they don't know the best way to handle this banana. You see them the way it's been transported, the vehicle that is being used to transport it, you will see so many bruises in the process of transportation. When the bruises are much, you see it start decaying, and that is a major problem. And many of them don't even know how to do it. There is no vehicle that is being designed for banana. They can just use any vehicle, even a small car. They will load a small car to the brim, and you see that the heat will be so much that it start decaying, and the post-harvest losses start wasted, and that's a major problem. And the last one is the bureaucratic process involved with exportation. I have a client that I've wanted to export his ginger in the last 3-4 months. It's still at the ports. It has not been exported yet because of the process of the documentation at the export. Documentation at the port is a major challenge. It's so slow. The process is so slow. You see the long queue at the port. It's taking months. And even if you want to use a flight, it's too expensive. And calculating the price, the cost of transporting, and you realize that you are not making profit. So it's better to sell locally than exporting. So it's a major problem right now. And that is the reason why Nigeria is not in the top banana exporting countries. The policymakers are not interested in it. They don't see potential in it. There is a financial strain, especially during the lockdown. If you approach the bank right now, you tell them you are going to banana production, no bank is ready to even lend you money because they don't see any need. They don't see the value in banana. They will like, banana, why can't you think of maize or some other cash crop like cocoa or cashew? Those are the people they can lend money easily. But banana, they don't see potential in it. The intertrade barriers and high tariff is still there up to now. And the major one is the poor infrastructure linking country. There is poor infrastructure. And that is the major reason why many actors just focus on local production. And the local production is even seasonal. You see during September, October, November, you see bananas are so much that it will be too much. The demand will be lower than the supply. And now during the off-season, which is now, this period now, you want to buy banana in the market, is very expensive. And because of those issues, it's very expensive. So there is no how we can store for long. We can't get banana all through the year. We just get gluts at once, then scarcity for almost 6, 7, 8 months. So that is a major challenge. And now I want to look at the export barrier between Nigeria and EU. Apart from the local challenges we have in Nigeria, there are some barriers that are more of external than internal. I've identified some of the internal challenges we have in exporting, especially banana. But we have some external barriers. The first one is the pesticide residue. EU change their policy any day, anytime, as far as it favors them. They don't take other stakeholders along. The issue of chlorpyrifos, in 2019, they started that the chlorpyrifos has been reduced, the residue level has been reduced from 0.05 milligram per kg to 0.01 milligram per kg. And they just communicated that it will be in implementation by November. That was last year, 2020. And this is a big challenge. And the issue of chlorpyrifos, that sometimes the residue, if you use chlorpyrifos, 2 years, 3 years, you will see traces of chlorpyrifos in the soil, and the crop will always uptake what is inside the soil. So it's a major problem. Many farmers right now exporters cannot meet with the new standard that EU is giving. The second one is the international politics. Our beans, the cowpea that was banned. EU banned the cowpea because of pesticide residue. because of the sniper, the pesticide residue found in our beans. But right now, we realize that the Indian comes to Nigeria to buy this beans, this cowpea. They export to India, and from India, they export to EU, and EU has never found any pesticide residue since Indians are exporting our cowpea to them. And that is where but if it's from Nigeria, they will get the chemical. I don't know where they get the chemical, but if it's from India, they don't get the chemical. And that's one of the international politics that's also affecting the trade barriers between Nigeria and EU. The third one is the high cost of certification. The certification is not cheap, it's expensive. An average smallholder farmers cannot afford certification. And that is why most time it is actually paid by exporters or agricultural companies. So it's very expensive to meet some of the requirements. They will say, oh, you need to have maybe Rainforest Alliance, Global Gap certification, which is expensive to them. And average farmers cannot afford it. And that is a major challenge too. Prices paid for raw materials are low, and farmers are not well compensated for their efforts. You just get to know that the prices that exporters or local companies pay to farmers to get these raw materials are low. And that's where you see farmers not even putting effort. I remember the project we're doing for hibiscus for rainforest certification. We had to tell the client to pay at least 10% to 15% higher than the market price. That's from 5% higher than the market price. And that really encouraged the farmer to put in more effort. So it's like an incentive to them to do the right thing. To do the right thing is a little bit expensive because it costs them more. So, but if you pay them more for that, you compensate for their effort, and they want to do more. And this has really helped the farmer, the client, to increase the number of farmers from 234 to 677, and we are still going to 3,000 farmers because more farmers want to join because the price is good for them. So, it's one of the challenges. Another one is, and the prices also is that the prices that EU pay, or EU foreign companies pay to get this product are so low compared to the requirements they always ask. When you are buying, because I just feel that there should be a standard where a foreign company must have a minimum. This is the minimum you can buy raw materials from Nigeria or from Africa. There must be a minimum, and that is one thing that is very, very important. The next thing is limited access to capital for scaling or expansion. Farmers cannot access finance, and that is a big problem. And the last one is quality consistency. It's a major challenge, which is more of internal, where a farmer produces a part of quality now, then the next production, the quality will reduce, and this has been a major concern, and it's also an export barrier because a foreign company buying from local buyers in Nigeria want the consistency in quality, and that is a big challenge. And that takes me to the last slide, which is the way forward. What is the way forward here? And the way forward, the first way forward is sufficient time for implementation of new policies. EU must come to understand that there are several stakeholders in the export business, and all stakeholders must be carried along. They need to understand the fact that it takes time to implement some of these new MRL. It takes time, at least a minimum of 3 years given to them. Because the truth is this, many of these pesticide companies also comes from US and EU companies. Many of these companies producing synthetic chemicals, they are from there. Some from China. And, just giving the card, just giving us the card, no, you need to fulfill this by this. It's a short time. We need to also analyze the risks. What time will it be convenient for these people to actually graduate from this to this time? Because now a lot of exporters are reduced the volume of product they are selling due to the MRL issue of especially chlorpyrifos ethyl. So it's a major challenge. So there must be a sufficient time. Second one, availability of commercial green pesticide to reduce over dependence on chemical pesticide. I know there are some green pesticide, which we believe that having it in commercial quantity in Nigeria, it will be a very good thing for us, and farmers can easily adopt it as far as they know that if they adopt this green pesticide, it will help them. They will sell their products at higher price and it will be a good one for them. The third one is competitive price for raw materials. That's minimum price standard should be instituted. That is should be. If you need a particular requirement, for a farmer to fulfill, then there should be a minimum price that you should be able to buy. Not you want the standard and you still want to pay a low price. It won't work like that. It will not compensate for efforts. And that is why we say we are actually encouraging that the EU needs to put in a minimum price for raw materials that is being purchased from Africa. The fourth one is adoption of True Code to ensure transparency in trade activities along the value chain. True Code is a very good, good initiative that you are not only tracking or doing a traceability system for produce, either track or you trace, you are also tracking are the farmers well compensated. Are the farmers well compensated? This is very key. Are the farmer, and this True Code will actually ensure that transparency. The fifth one is financial inclusion of smallholder farmers. And how do we ensure that smallholder farmers are financially included? Is ensuring that most of what they do, production activity, are captured in their credit points. Many farmers don't have good credit point, and this is a big problem. They want to buy inputs, they buy it with cash. It does not record to them for credit point. They want to pay the laborers. It does not record as a credit point for them. So there must be a platform where all these expenses that farmers incur during production actually accrue to their credit points. And this will easily help them to be able to access financial services, and also training them on specific financial services like loan, savings, mobilization, insurance package is very good for them. And lastly, building efficient and effective quality management system and traceability system. I know this will actually go a long way to ensure quality consistency of all the product. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Babatunde, for a very fiery and packed with the information and a lot of challenges from policymaking, agronomy, farmers' knowledge, finance, and politics. We have in our audience quite a number of experts actually can answer a number of these issues. We have Christian Müller, president of Global Gap. I would like to invite Christian later to comment on the topic you mentioned on the high certification costs, which was an issue raised earlier in our talks about certification. Dick himself is the expert on this pesticide issue in EU, which is also a topic we would like to address later about Green Deal of Europe. How does that affect development around the world? What is the responsibility of developed countries in terms of helping developing countries to grow, to develop, to be sustainable? And also, but before I see a lot of questions already, I see comments. Later, we'll open up the discussion to an open roundtable discussion, so everybody will get a chance. So please write your question down in the comment in the chat, and then I also ask you to later on to call on your name and open your video. But first, I would like to ask Victoria Madedor to give a response, actually, because Victoria was our speaker for the part one discussion, but then you couldn't finish, especially when you start talking about the verification, digital identity developments, which you are leading. So Victoria is an agribusiness specialist. She's also founder of African Farmer Story, which was mentioned in Babatunde's presentation. You are taking a lot of initiatives to improve farmers' knowledge and technology on the field, let's say in the field. So I would like to ask you to have the floor and then to explain again a bit about African Farmer Story and the Digi verification service you're developing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and good day from anywhere in the world. The African Farmer Story is telling the resilience and and greets of African farmers, because there are a lot of things going on in Africa that is not told in the mainstream media. The farmers are doing so much to strive and to thrive in the midst of limited resources. And because of that, we decided to tell their stories to the world and let everybody know and celebrate them as a way of celebrating their effort. African Farmer Story started as an initiative of the Support for African SME, which was born in the heat of the COVID. We saw how people were starving, and it resulted into a gang called the 1 Million Boys that went from household to household, street to street, trying to scavenge from food from families. And yet, a lot of farmers didn't have the opportunity to sell their foods to the urban areas. So we've been creating communities, agro communities, where we tell their stories, we share information, we advocate for them and spotlight them through social media, basically. But we have collaboration with the mainstream media to also tell the stories about them, about their struggles, about their successes, and about their local innovation. But we saw that having a community alone is not enough if we do not have action that back and support them to give them that kind of visibility and that translates into sustainability and improved livelihood. So to that means we identified a major gap, which is the inability of people to have direct access to these farmers and provide direct interventions for them. So there are a lot of farmers scattered all over the place, aggregators, and even including processors that are scattered across Nigeria and Africa as a whole. But there is no single point of contact in Nigeria where you can have a unified information about farmers in specific sectors that direct interventions can be melted. What is the vision of Agro Verified? Why did we say we really want to provide this platform? Time and time again, a lot of people have contacted me on social media, even on the African Farmer Story community, where we have almost 3,000 members now, that they're looking for a particular product. There was an intervention that needed to be made on cotton seeds in Nigeria. Unfortunately, after calling a lot of people, way more than 15%, were unable to get the proper aggregator for cotton seeds in Nigeria. So there are aggregators that have aggregators. So there were multiple layers of people before we could get to the farmers themselves. And interacting with these cotton farmers, we realized that they were getting next to nothing. So they were farming cotton not because it was profitable for them or it improved their livelihood, but because it was a way of helping them to mix crop in their farm as a mixed cropping system in their farm. Now that we have seen this problem and we want to provide instant access, both for those that provide monitoring and evaluation, those that provide grants. Recently, I was trying to evaluate some grant application and found that most of the applicants were not applying for themselves, as it were. They were applying for a smallholder farmer that didn't have access to tech, didn't have access to internet or Android phones. What will AgroVerify do? It will provide a unique database for farmers in Nigeria that will help to stimulate trade. Now, when there is a unique identification number, it provides integrity and transparency in the system. Most investors, when they want to come to Nigeria, they find it difficult to have access to data. They find it difficult to have access to a cluster where they can have all their raw materials when it comes to production, or when they want to export from Nigeria, they have to go through several layers of bureaucracy before they get that information. This unique identification we know will facilitate not only trade, will also facilitate not only trade, but facilitate fair trade. Now, you'll be able to trace conveniently who is producing what and where it is coming from, and tell a proper story of how your sales as a retail outlet or a consumer product provider, where your product is coming from and how your product, the sales of your product, directly impact the lives of the smallholder farmers. For long, we've had the word smallholder farmers in Africa and that they are poor. However, how can they move out of poverty if the money, that the income that is earned from their product does not directly impact their lives? While collecting this information, the key things we believe it will stimulate also is a proper supply of inputs. Now, input providers will be able to target efficiently those people that require their input and see from a broad spectrum into a micro spectrum how their inputs is being used or is needed in the country. In AgroVerify, one thing that the platform will provide is geotagging of farmers to the farmland with the unique identification number. It will also provide access for financial institutions to see holistically what is happening, the growth that is happening in that particular sector. Taking banana, for example, we have seen that there is abundant post-harvest loss happening in the banana sector in Nigeria. However, this huge post-harvest loss have also impacted the psyche and perception of financial institutions, as highlighted by Mr. Babatunde, such that they don't want to fund that sector. But if we are able to have this unique identification number for each farmer in that banana sector, we'll be able to tell them how the sector, and they can see how the sector moves during the time of glut, what happens, and the time of scarcity, what happens. And proper intervention can be put into that sector. Proper analysis and research can be made for that particular sector. So AgroVerify also allows for efficient research and interventions to be deployed to product-based or sector-based impact in Nigeria. What will this community, how do we integrate the African farmer story as an agro community and other agro communities into this platform so that they can leverage on this technology and also find a good extension service for themselves and provide holistic, sustainable food structure in Nigeria. We are going to use digital skills to ensure that we capture them, having a huge back-end structure that allows both USSD, that's those that are not using Android phone, they can also impute their data. We have enumerators that will go cluster to cluster, agro communities to agro communities to get this information and upload onto the database. And we believe that with a proper collaboration with other institutions like the True Code, we'll be able to attract proper funding for these smallholder farmers. And when we attract this kind of funding, it has a ripple effect on other players that have not been verified by us to come on board by themselves to get verified. With collaboration with True Code, we believe that we can show how carbon credits possibly is being enjoyed by smallholder farmers in Nigeria. We can also show transparently how fair trade is improved in Nigeria. We can also see holistically the level of certification in terms of global good agricultural practice, the level of certification of farmers in Nigeria. We know that trade do not occur directly with the smallholder farmers. It occurs directly with big export organization aggregators. However, we want a situation whereby the transparent and the integrity of the trade of this aggregator can be verified. You just need to ask for the number of farmers they're working with and their unique identification number to verify if truly they are getting the fairest of trade that is needed to improve their life, or the best kind of raw materials or inputs that is required for them to grow that product in a sustainable way. So we can integrate them as even those smallholder farmers to become smart farmers and adopt precision farming. Thank you very much for listening this afternoon.
Thank you, Victoria, for an excellent presentation. I got very inspiring, and I think I have two main points I got from you. One is not just trade, any trade, actually, we're talking about fair trade. Second is the role of digital technology as the decentralized enabler to solve some of these insurmountable challenges or seemingly insurmountable challenges, and as a catalyst for change and to leverage resources and bring about changes in the entire value chain. So it's a important bottom-up approach, start changes from the community level and to eventually bring up to large corporations and to policymakers. So again, today we have some excellent audience. Hugh, I think, is an expert in advising African government. So later, I also like to ask Hugh to give comments on the policy level as well. Then from this session, I would like to have about 20-25 minutes into our roundtable discussion. And I'll introduce Marjan Smit. Marjan is CEO of ImpactBuying and former CEO of SIM supply chain, and you are the initiator of True Code, which was already mentioned several times during previous presentation. And in your own introduction on True Code can be seen back during part 3 of the Digital Food series with more explanation of what it is. In the following discussion, we'd like you to, together with Victoria and Babatunde, to address some of the issues mentioned by two of them, and how from a European technology and supply chain point of view, how can an initiative like TrueCode can work together with the communities, with the local initiatives like the DigiVerify, and with traders and farmers to start solving some of these bottlenecks in fair trade chain of the other banana, but also other valuable commodities from Africa?
Thank you so much for this. And Babatunde and Victoria, I mean, it couldn't be a better start for me to respond, because I think what we heard from Babatunde and where he is coming across the issues in doing trade with European buyers, where we have as ImpactBuying the privilege to work with. I directly saw I recognized all the issues that you were listing, Babatunde, and just to get some more insights for you in how this trade works and how this retail world is organized. The best way to start is to say that there's fierce competition. Bananas are the biggest, one of the biggest ultra fresh products in the shops in over Europe when it comes to ultra fresh. So among the biggest, in some shops the biggest, and there is fierce competition because it is a crop that is attracting consumers to come in. Competition, of course, is also about price, as many of the consumers, when they are interviewed about sustainability, they speak with their heart, but they buy with their wallet. And the discussion that I have with my retail clients is, okay, but what kind of alternatives do you offer your clients who want to not only speak with their heart, but also buy with their heart and go beyond labels? And there's where storytelling comes in, right? To enable consumers to make an informed decision. But price is a key driver, and there are other elements, Babatunde, which is you mentioned it, and that is the quality, availability, on-time delivery. So bananas are a very sensitive crop, as you underlined, and the Western consumers are spoiled to the bone. So when they come to bananas, and if they see a banana that is either too green or has too much dark brown spots, they just don't buy it. So that is also one thing I would like to share with you. So the consumers, when it comes to the quality of the banana, have very high requirements. And one of the other topics is the MRLs, and I think there are people in the audience that are better capable of saying something about it. But changing the EU guidelines is not an easy task, and maybe Christian can say something about that in a second. But there is this trend for having crops with a story, especially those crops where the retailers have identified risk based on their due diligence exercise. And I saw ginger, for example, as one of the crops, which I know are identified as high risk in relationship with human rights, with pesticides. So yes, there is a need for a story that goes with the product. So yes, I think there are many opportunities for exporting to the EU from Africa, but then the chances are the biggest for crops like cashews, for example. I could imagine. I mean, I'm not a specialist in quality of certain crops, but I know that there is a need to have products with data. This is exactly why I'm happy that both of you mentioned the TrueCode initiative that helps to give a face or an identification, a passport to every individual smallholder farmer, and building on everything that we have delivered until now. And if you go to the truecode.org, true and then hyphen code.org, you can come on the website. It's we are building it because we delivered the MVP 3 that is now tested for the people that participated, but we are preparing phase 4. And what we want to do with the large Western retailers, but also US retailers, Chinese retailers and brands, to go to a next level and scale it. And we will do it on coffee, bananas, and meat and soy. So those are the 3 priority supply chains where we will roll out on a bigger scale with retailers. And one of the working groups that will be installed will work on fair value chain distribution. Another group will work on access to finance. So what role can the TrueCode play in access to finance to smallholder farmers? Why? Well, because beyond the cooperative, the identification of the smallholder farmer is lacking. And the pressure on the Western retailers to deliver a trusted story with products, to deliver evidence that they are not abusing people, that they are not polluting the environment with their sourcing, is becoming under such a huge pressure. So they have to do something. And they know that many of the issues when it comes to deforestation, when it comes to human rights, when it comes to fair remediation, which is with smallholders called living income, and with big, larger farmers called living wages, they have to do something. And so how can you reward, incentivize those farmers, if it's smallholder or larger farmers, how can you incentivize them when they deliver a verified string of data of identified sources going through the first mile? Because the majority of the issues are related to farming. And we will build on that in phase 4. I already talked to Victoria to involve her and discuss that also with Dick, step by step. But there is a screaming need to solve this, and we don't know if we succeed with the TrueCode. The good thing is that we have a lot of support from retailers who buy large quantities and volumes, and brands who buy large quantity and volumes of raw materials and commodities, that they are becoming really interested and really promoters of what we are trying to do. And we will give it another period from April to September to involve more schemes, to involve more parties, to find out how can retailers pay maybe a little bit more for a connected string of verified data from identified sources. And when the product is sourced from Africa, being able to deliver a product with a story that is verified, it could play a very important role. So I like to thank you for bringing that in. And Tiffany, I hope that links very well to the what was said before, and back to you to organize a discussion. Thank you. Tiffany, we don't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I'd like to ask Victoria and Babatunde and others in the audience to join the discussion. So you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and put on the video to respond to the discussions we have so far. Actually, I see Hugh giving comments already. Hugh, do you like to give some response to the discussion we had so far? You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm very grateful. I just want to say, in Cameroon, as Dr. Ikechi mentioned earlier on, we have a very successful banana industry. Actually, while in the UK, I usually was go on the shop and just buy banana from Cameroon, just to feel good about myself. It's because our banana industry are run by French investors who invest in Cameroon more than 40 years, 50 years ago. So there's a know-how, technology, and money flowing in, but they are doing it in partnership with the government of Cameroon. So because they are doing it in partnership with the government of Cameroon, it makes it easier for certification process, for things to go through the port easily because, the government invested. It's a public-private partnership. So because when they see the stamp of the government, administration just open doors, and when the containers come at the port, things are so easy because they see the stamp of the government. And then in partnership with the French investor, there's a lot of money going in. There's a support from the French government. There's a lot of private French investors which come and invest in Cameroon. For example, I know a lot of this because my elder brother is actually one of the managers, one of the large firms producing banana in Cameroon. So he talked a lot about how, this partnership is so successful in terms of, producing good results. So I think public-private partnership should be taken into consideration to structure or to develop Nigerian banana industry, to bring about private sector and government. The good thing about bringing the government in is term of administration, to make things easier. And Babatunde mentioned something very important about the port. It's difficult to report, and he is right. For example, in Africa, Nigeria, and Cameroon, on average, is 21 days, for a good to move the port to be exported, to come in or come out, 21-day minimum. A very efficient port is 3 days. It's Durban, the port of Durban in Africa. That's the most efficient one. And in Europe, you have, for example, less than 48 hours, the goods already shipped overseas. So when you partner with the government for an industry like that, if you want to be successful, you need to partner with the government. But I'm not in favor of the government having the majority part. The private sector can still manage things like the French are doing in Cameroon. So I think that's one aspect of it that I wanted to just highlight for now. Thank you.
That's a very good point. In a whole export chain, indeed, it's a lot of key actors from growers to exporters to government and port operators and on both sides. So Marjan, what do you think about this issue of working with the government? I know, for example, in China, if you are indeed talking about the export project in China, the first actor you talk to is government in terms of managing the infrastructure. And this topic, especially we talk about Nigeria, I just heard from Babatunde, in the case of banana anyway, it's not even on the policymakers' radar list to even consider as being a potentially industry. That will make it difficult to start something from scratch, seems like.
Yeah, I'm afraid it is. And I don't have experience with all the governments in the world. I have a little bit built up in China. With CNCA and how that worked from China with the Consumer Goods Forum and the food safety, let's say, alignment between their laws and the needs of the let's say the importers of products from China. I saw that, and there it also worked very well because actually that is also public-private. So I think Hugh has appointed an important issue, which I can imagine that Babatunde can be very upset about, because sometimes politics are not ready to make that step or to bring it to a priority. So that's all I have to say about it, Tiffany. I'm not a specialist. I can only recall from what I have been experiencing in China, and that it's actually confirming the story that public-private can really work, but not all countries are capable of doing that, I guess.
Babatunde, do you want to have respond to some of the issues? You raised a lot of challenges, but we want to solve some of the challenges. So where do we start concretely, in your opinion?
I think there are some things that we can do now. There are some short term, there are some medium term, and there are some long term there. I think one of the challenges which is within the country, especially for export of banana, is the access to quality planting materials. I think that is very, very key. For us to get the quality planting materials, I think is very, very key. Currently in Nigeria, we Cavendish banana. Annually, we produce about 608,000 tons of Cavendish banana, about 600 to 610,000 tons of Cavendish banana right now in Nigeria. And one thing is, we still need an improved varieties of that banana. And, when we see organizations, especially research institutes, that are really interested and can provide such variety to farmers, first, as an exporter, you have the confidence that, yes, you have this export quantity of this product available in the country. I think that is very key to us. And also on knowing the requirement of the buyers, the EU buyers. Every product have their requirement, and also every buyer have their own specific requirements sometimes. So it's for us to understand what are the requirements of the EU buyers. And also, we also need to now know the commitment, because there is need for commitment. For me, working with government, especially government of Nigeria, is a good idea, but sometimes the bureaucracy is difficult, sort of. They have this bureaucracy process that it shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 days to approve a proposal or a project, and sometimes it takes 5 months, 8 months, 1 year or 2 years. It works if we could partner with the government, but to partner with the government, we need a negotiator, because those are the people that makes the whole negotiation faster. PPP is a good one. PPP, I believe so much in PPP, but sometimes, when you give the government too much power, they take over the whole partnership. So, but I still feel that there's more for private sector to take over than the government. But my key thing is, let us see where we can access quality seeds, knowing the requirement of EU buyers, and also the commitment of the EU buyers. Sometimes for you to do such a project, you need some commitment from the buyers. I don't want to produce right now and present it to the EU buyers, and the EU buyer says, oh, sorry, I've gone to Costa Rica to get those products. I can't wait for 1 year to harvest your banana. And you've invested so much, especially maybe you have gotten loan from the bank, and the bank will be chasing you to repay. And that will be a major challenge. I think these 3 steps, if we can take it, is a good one. Then we look at the medium time. And the medium time is how we can build relationship with the EU stakeholders in terms of those making the laws. I know there are several stakeholders that come together. How can we come together? The international politics, there is nothing, you don't have to put sentiment in it. Everyone wants the gain to be to himself. So we too must be able to participate in the so-called politics in a way that will favor us too. It's a win-win situation. So if we're on the table, we should negotiate terms that will benefit the both parties. And that is where, how can we come up with policy that will also help us too, in terms of way to benefit from it. Like for instance, of some of the chemicals, lambda cyhalothrin is a little bit, I think the residue level in EU presently is 0.01 milligram per kg. Ethyl chlorpyrifos ethyl is now 0.01 milligram per kg, and some other things. So how can we look for alternative pesticide to control this pest? Are we talking about biology control? Yes, if we're talking about biological control to reduce the usage or over dependence of pests, then let's look at, is it in commercial quantity? Is there any companies that produce this product in commercial quantity? Can they come to Nigeria to establish? Like some of the great pesticide I may mention, they are more of plant-based pesticide. Some of them, we've tried them in Nigeria. Like we use neem oil, it's a plant-based pesticide, and it was effective. Some actually have recommended other pesticides that are plant-based that is very, very effective. So we can look at, is there a company in Nigeria or outside Nigeria that can come and establish in Nigeria, industry in Nigeria, where they can produce plant-based? Nigeria is a huge market. We have the population, and that is the key thing. We have the population in West Africa. We have the population in Africa. So it's a big market for us. And if we want to say, okay, Nigeria should achieve this standard, why is Nigeria not achieving some of these standards? So we need to look, okay, what are the external factors? What are the internal factors? And look at how can we manage these risks. I think it's a good discussion. It's a way of starting this whole discussion. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Babatunde. I think that's an excellent point that is very concrete, because Marjan, in the True Code initiative, actually you don't intend, the role of True Code is actually to be the intermediary between the buyers and the suppliers, and then you don't, as a trusted source, without disclosing information that the growers do not want to share. But one key question really is, what are the questions? So when a buyer at a European side want to use True Code, ask a number of questions, and that's relating to Babatunde's question on standard, what exactly are you asking? What do you care? Okay. And then by asking those questions, how do you make sure the buyers, the growers who adhere to this criteria get 10, 50% higher in their premium? Is that a process that can be somehow guaranteed? Because that will give, of course, boost and a user case why growers want to adopt standards, adopt a facility passport, because they can get reward for.
Yes. So let me clarify one thing. It is a location-related passport. So location, not product. But a product, of course, is grown, harvested, and makes a journey from the farm with logistics to the ripener, which is in the European mainland. So I would say the True Code is more an enabler than something else. So it's kind of fundament that allows identification also for banking organization that want to do smallholder financing and sustainable financing. So, there is this development into the right direction of what we have been talking about today. And the True Code is an enabler to identify the smallholder farmer, the collector, so the trip that, let's stay with bananas, the trip that the banana makes until they end up in the warehouse of the retail. So it's an enabler to do that storytelling. I heard two things also, and that is, what are the requirements from European buyers for bananas? And that is a product-related requirements. How green, how the shape, the size, the pesticide levels, how they have to be packed, how many fingers that the banana crop have to have, and that differs, of course, per per retailer. So you have product-related requirements that differ per retailer, and you have location-related requirements. So when it comes to rewarding, having an incentive and that's what I explained, is one of the working groups have to work on that in phase 4, is the whole value distribution. So it should be rewarded when it comes to human rights on bananas, that the pickers get paid enough. For example, this is one of the commitments that, for example, the Dutch retailers committed themselves to, but also the German and UK retailers are going on that path. So when it's bananas from smallholder farmers, it's about the evidence that they actually can provide data about the living income gap, so that they know what they have to do to close it, because that is a good story, right? So it's also about storytelling. And if they can, by buying bananas somewhere, are able to make a claim on closing the living wage gap, that is one of the indicators that they need to have verified. Is that really true? Is the gap that is presented, is that really true? It's about safety. So it could be about MRLs, for example. And with the True Code, what is under the True Code as technology is blockchain technology. And we did a huge pilot, not a pilot, it's still running, a huge implementation with bananas coming from Colombia. And it was confirming the claim that those bananas were CO2 neutral. And it was also in combination with Fives. And we did that with Fair Trade and Uniban, which is a large cooperative in Colombia. And that had a very high uptake. But it also allowed, it was going to Plus supermarket in Holland. They are the most sustainable supermarkets for years in Holland. And they were the driver of this, let's say. And they paid a premium for those all those suppliers connected that could prove that they were CO2 that could demonstrate their CO2 footprint. And it was with the help of Climate Neutral Group. I mean, this is just an example on bananas in an integrated chain from a supermarket to the cooperative in Colombia, where the retailer paid a premium when the right data could be offered. So I think, coming back and summarizing it, the data that is needed for the creating the passport is super simple, and we will work on those details also with Victoria. Invite her to look with us on the content of that passport, and it's a number of hectares, number of trees, number of employers, and of course it is a picture in time, but it's a basic data model. It's not rocket science. But the verified layer, which we will build in phase 4, should be able to answer those questions, like the example of CO2, like the example of living income, and if the gap is truly verified. So I hope that Tiffany is an answer on the question, to give a little bit more concrete meat to the bone on what it means. But the idea is that if a suppliers, like in this example with Fives, and and Uniban and the string of data, that there is a value in that for the buyer, and that should be translated in a higher price. Let's see if we can make that, but that is the aim that we as initiators have, to have a better and fairer value distribution among the supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you Marjan for this good explanation. I already changed the background of my to announce the next topic, because you already addressed, you all addressed a very important topic, is access to finance to smallholder farmers. And carbon trading, carbon credits is becoming a very important source. So we're announcing the next theme for the next talk. We'll focus on this finance topic. So somebody will bring discussion we just raised, we'll bring that topic to the next round. There are some questions from remarks from our audience, but I would like to now ask Ikechi to give kind of a conclusion response, bringing the topic discussion back onto, let's say, the policy implications for African continent. Ikechi, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tiffany. And for the rest of the speakers that have really done well, I appreciate everyone who also is here present. Yeah, I listened and I paid rapt attention to everyone who have spoken about banana crop. And then I was just thinking about my own presentation in that line, because it's all about after production, what next? Who are we producing? And we are talking about exportation. Have we been able to produce enough for ourselves in Africa? Have we been able to, I saw that the focus is on Nigeria. So have we been able to focus to produce more, enough for everyone? Approaches and infrastructure needed for trade in Africa focus on exportation of tropical crops. And I really appreciate Tiffany, Dick, and the rest of the organizers of Digital Foods for deeming it fit to organize this program, which has to do a lot with Africa, Black Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and bringing about transformation of the economy. Yeah, and that takes us to the introduction. And approaches and infrastructure needed for trade in Africa. I had to highlight on some contextual issues, because I reckon that Babatunde kept mentioning about infrastructure, because his own presentation was actually like the topical presentation or the typical presentation of today's seminar, because it surrounds everything about practical agriculture in line with banana crop. And so with respect to trading, issues on trading, I looked at transport costs, which farmers are actually challenged about. They are, it's like a constraint factor, a major factor that affects our farmers in Africa. Transport costs, sometimes it is called transaction costs. And then seasonality, perishable nature and of tropical crops. And the cumbersome custom procedures like Babatunde also highlighted. And Dr. Hugh also mentioned that as well. Then the roadblocks, which encapsulates frequent unwarranted roadblocks on highways. It does not increase trade costs and impeding intra-Africa trade. and information and communication costs, very poor quality and limited increase, leads to skyrocketing of the trade costs in regional trade in Africa between the two transports commodities from an ECOWAS region to an Eastern African region. There's, so much bottleneck involved. Then for power and energy, well, I think we have to get to the importance of regional infrastructure. Now, every time we talk about infrastructure, now, what is the importance of regional infrastructure with respect to trade of tropical crops? Regional infrastructure is very important feature for trading in the region, like in the ECOWAS region, like even in the SADC region, that's Southern African Development Community countries. And then the importance of complementarity in hard infrastructure, that is to develop transport and communication infrastructure jointly. Now we have spoken, so, but we need to look at these issues. We need to look at the deep-seated troubles of the smallholder farmers, of the farmers, not just the smallholder farmers, all farmers. We have to reckon that we also have large-scale farmers in Africa. When I lived in South Africa, I came across a lot of large-scale farmers in the Western Cape region. That's where you get those farmers that are not black, per se, black farmers. They are the large-scale farmers, and they are the one controlling the economy of, the agro-economy of South Africa. Not just in South Africa, in the SADC region, including Zimbabwe, Zambia, and the other rest because South Africa is a major force servicing that region. Well, that is by the way. Then the deep integration processes can be particularly complex and marred by political economic constraints. So politics comes in, like the first speaker pointed out about politics. Deep integration processes also addressing both hard and soft infrastructure. Why is Africa still backward? The issue of landlocked communities, landlocked countries of Africa. And then firstly, it is important to recognize regional integration as a process. So I'm looking at how we can set up infrastructure in ECOWAS region, how we can set up infrastructure in SADC region, how we can set up infrastructure in Eastern African region as an essential aspect, as an essential inroad to tackling the problem of trade of not just crops, but also agro commodities. And
Ikechi, I'm going to have to ask you to conclude with your, as a concluding remark, because this is a topic we will address also in a later session on a more dedicated policy discussion. Also, last time you also explained very much in detail on the intra-African trade and infrastructure needed. So I would like to ask you to conclude our sessions in one sentence.
Okay, sorry, I thought I will present the entire work, but to conclude, with respect to the previous speakers, what has, the point that has already been raised, it is actually pertinent that not only does infrastructure in itself can enhance the efficiency of production and transportation and communication within the region. It can also provide incentives to public and private sector participants. And of course, that will definitely trickle down to economy-wide growth. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand you will also be writing this into a policy paper. So I also ask everybody to follow. And then Ikechi will surely share with the wider public when your policy statement write-up is there. But we see the key summary of that. Dick raised your hands earlier, so we're coming almost to the end, but we can continue still the discussion with kind of informal chat with everybody. So still feel free to jump in. Dick.
Yes, and just to round up, I'm impressed by this discussion because we've really analyzed both in a practical way and in a from a policy point of view, what are the problems of developing African agriculture? And Ikechi, thank you very much. We must continue on your way and use way. That is very important. There are political problems. There are still, as you said, it's very delicate. There are still black and white problems. And we just have to name them by their name, as we say in Dutch. It's very good that we can do this, that the intimacy in this chat is already there to discuss this. What I learned from Babatunde's and Victoria's presentations is the very practical problems. And we need to find the first crack in this nut. There is a nut of barriers, a lot of barriers. And where are the first holes? Where are the first cracks? And when Babatunde said, there are these green pesticides. That is a discussion I'm very aware of because I'm very much implied in that in Europe, in the Netherlands. There are green pesticides we don't allow. For some reason, the lawmaker is very, slow. So we could find crops and requirements. As Marjan pointed out, there are requirements. And if we can find requirements to make supermarkets, distributors, retailers stand out on requirements, there are the first cracks in the nut, and we have to find them. That is a very practical point. Both Babatunde and Victoria tell us it's about very practical things, and they are there. And in various countries, there are different crops, and we'll have to define them. And that is a thing that is very important. I know that Simone Hertzberger is with us. Simone, are you still there? But perhaps you should join us on the next one as well. She was responsible for the integrity and safety of buying foodstuffs. There is Simone. Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you. These requirements are a first, perhaps, way to crack the nut very practically. The other thing we've learned today is that there needs to be a will to do it. You need to adopt a region, a country, a bunch of farmers. You want to help, and you want to show that to the rest of the world. That is something Albert Heijn, Ahold Delhaize, is doing as well. Simone, you know that there is the, what is it called? The Albert Heijn Foundation in Africa. And there is a famous story lately, on pineapples. And the money didn't end up in the pocket of the grower of a pineapple. There was a huge discussion in the Dutch press. Albert Heijn didn't like it. But this true code, a requirement, and things like that can show the example of a supermarket taking responsibility and yet taking commercial advantage of it because of, setting yourself apart of other supermarkets. And I'd like you to comment on that. Simone, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dick. Commenting on that, currently I am also the chairman of the Sustainable Nut Initiative. And what we see now is that retailers flock to these kind of institutions or organizations because the retailers really want to be involved in improving the situation for smallholders or farmers in less developed countries. in Africa or in Asia or in Latin America, doesn't matter. But they really want to be involved. And I think that in the near future, we'll see more retailers becoming involved, because also the EU is planning to legally make it legally binding for retailers. They have, not only for retailers, but for the whole chain, to look into the chain and to care about what happens in the step before they sell certain products. This is an important step in the EU. Of course, it won't function like we all would like it to function directly. Nevertheless, it shows that it's important to care where your products come from. The next step, of course, is to pay for that and to let the consumer pay for that. I have no idea how this will develop, but what we have done in the Sustainable Nut Initiative is to expel, so to speak, greenwashing. Oh, I am a member of this initiative and therefore I'm green. No, you really have to show that you take small steps to improve livelihood or financial situations of smallholders. Thus, not only for corporations or middlemen, but really there where the products come from. So, well, in general, I'm feeling quite hopeful, but Dick, you know me, I am a very positive person, but I'm really hopeful that also in Europe, the focus on smallholders will grow, and I'm listening with interest and hearing about every barrier in African countries. And this is, of course, well, this doesn't make life easy. I understand that. Okay, it won't be done tomorrow, but small steps will be taken, and this will improve the situation. I'm certain of that.
Thank you very much, Simone. So hope is lurking just around the corner. And indeed, thank you very much. And this is wonderful in these discussions. We should try to make a policy paper from the very practicalities and the high over policy issues and racial issues that still exist. Let's break the taboos. And then Tiffany, just rounding up, one thing in countries where there aren't great infrastructures is to grant them with carbon credits. Africa has lots of perennials, and the fun of carbon credits is that you can store carbon in crops you don't export. You don't need any infrastructure for them. So that is a great crop for countries that cannot export but need to build capital. And that will be the next session, how to unleash capital from the plots of land smallholders own. And that is all I'd like to say. And Tiffany, back to you.
Yes, so thank you. Dick already introduced the theme on the next sessions, because indeed the smallholder farmers selling their products, one way of income, but then keeping the environment, growing crops sustainably has a big earth benefit, and that should be compensated. But how exactly does this carbon financing work? And that's a new topic. It's not new. It has been there actually for a long time, but then perhaps we start seeing some real steps from big banks like Rabobank of then the big developed countries with a clear, legally binding commitment to achieve a certain target. And then by combining green development, fair development with carbon reduction goals. That will be the themes. We'll invite also experts and from big corporations like Rabobank and Cargills of the world to tell us how exactly this carbon chain will work in agriculture. So I hope everybody who joined, followed, will stay tuned, and also be sure to follow our next sessions. It will continue. So with that, if anyone has a burning question, I would like to say something, you still can do, or we will say good afternoon, everybody.